All right, we are back for another Q&A. I'm hearing the response that you guys are really enjoying these Q&As, so here's another one. So stay tuned and learn, get your learn on. All right, so hi everybody, John Meadows here, and we're back with another Q&A. I've got 3 questions here that you guys have sent in. The first one is from Paul. How long should you go on a cycle and how long should you go off? Well, I know a lot of people would dodge these questions. I'm not going to dodge it, but I do want to tell you how things have changed. It used to be in the 80s and 90s, a lot of us would compete on, and then our off season would be off, so we could recover our body's natural testosterone, get everything working again. And then at some point in the 2000s, it became you had to be off as long as you were on. So if you were on for 12 weeks, you'd be off for 12 weeks. If you're on for 16 weeks, you'd be off for 16 weeks. I thought that was pretty good. As that decade continued to go on, there were a couple pro coaches that said, no, the maximum time you should be off is 6 weeks. So it didn't matter how long the cycle was, you only took 6 weeks off. And now you have this whole blast and cruise mentality. So basically the advice you get now is you never come off. And I think that's a little crazy. I really think that if you do as much as you can with your nutrition and your diet in the off season, save that time that you're on for pre-contest. Everything's going to work better. You're going to be able to retain muscle better. You'll have a better response. So I would just say if you can get your own hormones back with a good PCT plan, and by the way, on my member website, we're going to be uploading a video on PCT in the next week or two. I would go that route. If you're one of those experienced guys, if you already shut your system down, then you can get by on HRT. There are many guys I know that do great in the off season on a little bit above HRT doses. So my message to you, or I guess my answer to you is, try to save as much time as you can to be on when you're 16 weeks out from a show, something like that. And in the off season, and the other cool thing is it forces you to train smart and to eat smart. Whereas a lot of guys just use it as a crutch, you know, they're bloated, they're big, so they just eat whatever. And they don't really learn that discipline. You know, that discipline is one of the things that's helped me over the course of 3 decades now. So there you go. All right, so question number 2. Instead of a deload week, can time off the gym, let's say a week, be as beneficial? That is a great question. So let me talk about deloads for a second. I believe in bodybuilding, the deloads maybe aren't necessarily planned. You use them when you need them. So if I've got somebody that's doing really well, they're growing, they're getting stronger, I don't usually have them deload. If they start suffering poor performance, let's say their velocity on lifts, the weight, it just slows down, the weight feels heavier, they're losing strength, they can't get pumps, they're starting to get sick more often, they can't sleep, they're kind of showing all these symptoms that lead you to believe they're, you know, teetering on overtrained status or probably overreaching, but maybe they're getting toward overtraining. Those are the times you should deload. Now, should you deload? Or should you just get out of the gym is what you're asking altogether. Now, first of all, what do I consider a deload? I generally tell my people over the course of 2 weeks to not take any sets to failure, and I cut down their volume about 20 or 30%. So they're doing nothing really high intensity. They're just moving some weight, they're relaxing, they're not straining, and they're not doing as much volume. In my experience, most of the time, that's all they need. It works great. Now, you may be one of those people who have beat yourself into oblivion. Maybe it's right after a contest, for example. That's a prime time for people to just beat themselves into oblivion, okay? And those people, I would say, you know what? You may need a week or 2 out of the gym. There's some physiological reasons to rest up, but also there might be some psychological reasons to rest up. And a lot of times the people who tend to get that way are kind of addicted to going to the gym. So they're like, man, I can't get out of the gym. I can't get out of the gym. But when they do, they go crazy the first week. And then the second week, they're like, oh man, mentally, I really feel better now. And that hunger to train comes back. So they get this mental recharge where if they just would have kept pushing and pushing and pushing, mentally everything becomes a drag, and then you start to really not make any progress at all. So if you have beat yourself into oblivion and you don't want to go to the gym, you're weak, you're tired, then you might want to stay out of the gym. If you haven't spent any time with your friends, your families, then definitely get out of the gym and spend some time with the people around you that you're close to. So hope that helps. And the third question is how someone should train with a very intense physical job. Let's say, this is from Jean Francois. So Jean, I am sorry. Oh, by the way, that previous question was from Cody Gleason. Okay, Jean, so how should someone train with a very intense physical job? You know, this kind of reminds me when I was in high school and when I was in college, during the summers, I took very physical jobs. One summer I ran a jackhammer. One summer I worked in a wood mill in my little town. One summer I worked at a car factory. It was very hot. One time I had a little easier job. I actually worked at a car wash, and the car wash was right beside the donut shop. So me and my buddy Mike Long, people would want to get commissions, so they'd kind of run out to the cars to try to sell them undercarriage washes and waxes and all that stuff. Well, Mike and I, we didn't care. We just wanted to eat donuts next door. So I know that's shocking to you guys, but so anyways, long story short, especially when I ran that jackhammer, every time I'd go to the gym afterwards, my arms were literally like tingling, numb from all the shaking. So I had to really pull back volume and frequency back then. I remember that I had to pull my sets way back, and I had to train less often because the recovery was really hard. And at that point, I had a really fast metabolism on top of it. So it became very hard to eat enough. So you're asking about, you know, eating enough and sleeping enough. Well, the sleep is a non-negotiable. You got to get your sleep. But eating, I remember my little trick for calories. It was peanut butter, banana, and honey sandwiches, and I would eat them all the time with whole milk. So I would bring a container with ice cubes and whole milk. I know that sounds disgusting when you're working out in the heat, but I'm just telling you what I did. And I had peanut butter, and this is the food that I used with most guys my age. I was kind of coaching people back then to help them put on weight. It was peanut butter, banana, and honey sandwiches. And we would eat and eat and eat those things. So you're going to have to find ways when you're really active to really increase your caloric intake. I've got a couple guys now that have real heavy manual labor jobs, and they weigh maybe 180, 190 pounds, and both of them eat around 5,000 calories, which is way more than what I eat. Okay, one more quick question. This is from Vince McMahon. All right, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Hey Vince, sign me up. Hi John, do you have any tips about how to train with tendinitis? I'm always worried I want to tear a pec. Dude, I have been in that situation so many times you have no idea. I have almost torn my pec a minimum of 20 times on each one when I used to bench first and incline first. And that was one of the things that drove me to put the compound exercise second or third. So one thing I'm going to tell you, like I used to get it right in my pec insertion. So take the compound movements and put them second or third. You're not going to be as strong because you're going to be a little fatigued, but don't worry about it. You're going to have less stress on the tendons. The other thing that can help with tendinitis too is I used to get ART done. ART is a very good manual therapy technique that kind of breaks up scar tissue and gets the tissue feeling healthier. I used to actually get that done on my elbows, and it worked fantastic on my elbows. It didn't work on some of the other injuries I had, but on my elbows it did work good. So my advice to you, Mr. McMahon, is to move your compound movements to second or third, and then also if you've got something that doesn't feel right, it's aching, get some ART done on it and break up that scar tissue. And I know it's a little controversial now and people are questioning it, but man, it worked for me and it's worked for many of my friends. So there's your Q&A for today. If you like this, please share it. Let everybody know we're doing Q&As on here, and let me know what else you want me to talk about. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. All right, we have a bonus question. Okay, this is from Top Helper. Hey John, my left long head of the tricep is extremely underdeveloped. Do you have any advice? Okay, so you're saying your long head, so you're saying the inner head. Okay, yeah, absolutely. First of all, if you really want to stretch that muscle and work it hard, it works good when your humerus is pointed up. So movement like this, or like this. But I will tell you this, that inflames a lot of people's elbows. So I would do all your push down, your lateral head work before you do anything like that. Make sure your elbows and triceps are full of blood, they're super warm. And then what I like doing is I like actually sitting down with a back support and using a rope and having somebody hand me the, on a machine, and then hand me the rope behind my head. So my humerus is pointed up, and I'm really stretching that long head that you're not hitting, and really emphasize the stretch. You can come up to about 4/5 lockout to keep tension on the tricep. But if you start doing that, and the other thing is you can do it on arm day, but you can also do it like after, say, you train your chest, because your elbows will be warmed up from all the pushing. So if you start doing that twice a week when your elbows are warmed up, I think you're going to see that long head start to grow. All right, that's your bonus. Thank you.